The story opens deep in a dark forest at night. A terrified woman runs through the trees, chased by something unseen, until she suddenly wakes up. It was just a nightmare. The woman is Sara Pierce, our main character. Moments later, we see her getting ready to leave home, packing her bags, and heading to the airport. She's traveling to Japan. During the taxi ride, Sara experiences flashes of memory. We learn that her twin sister, Jess Price, has gone missing. Jess had been living in Japan, working as an English teacher, and was last seen entering Aokigahara, the infamous suicide forest. Local police believe Jess took her own life and have closed the case since she hasn't returned for days. But Sara refuses to accept that. Her fiancé, Rob, tries to convince her otherwise, saying Jess has always been troubled and drawn to danger. Still, Sara is determined to find her sister and travels to Japan alone. At her hotel, Sara begins researching Aokigahara. She finds disturbing images of bodies recovered from the forest and becomes uneasy. The next day, Sara visits the school where Jess once taught. The moment she enters the classroom, a terrified student screams. Because the twins look identical, the students mistake Sara for a Yurei, a ghost. The principal explains that long ago, sick and elderly women were abandoned in the forest to die, and their angry spirits returned to haunt the living. Sara asks to see Jess's room and discovers notes about the forest. Jess had been researching it extensively and taking sleeping pills. Life had always been hard for her. Even moving to Japan for a fresh start didn't help. The principal tells Sara, Aokigahara is where broken people go. Through flashbacks, we learn the sisters were raised by their grandmother. They were close, but their childhood was shadowed by trauma. Taking a train toward the forest, Sara stops at a small roadside inn and asks the owner about Jess. The woman tells her Jess passed through some time ago but later disappeared. Then she adds something chilling. Jess's body has already been found and kept in the basement. Sara is stunned. The innkeeper explains that when a body is found in the forest, it's stored there until someone claims it. Otherwise, the spirits wail all night. She leads Sara to the basement, where several bodies lie under white sheets. Pointing to one, she claims it's Jess, then leaves. Unable to resist, Sara pulls back the sheet and gasps in horror at the decomposed face. But to her relief, it's not her sister. That's a good thing, the innkeeper says flatly. Later, while searching for phone signal, Sara meets a local girl who tells her it's impossible. Iron deposits in the mountains block reception. She warns Sara again, never leave the trail. The Yurei can sense sadness and use it to create hallucinations that drive people to suicide. Sara dismisses it as superstition and walks back to the hotel. On her way, she notices a group of schoolgirls emerging from the forest. The sight feels strangely unsettling. Back at the hotel, she meets Aiden, a journalist from an Australian magazine. Sara tells him she's searching for her sister and plans to enter the forest alone. Aiden warns her it's too dangerous. He's heading in the next day with a guide and invites her to join him. In exchange, he wants to write an article about her search. Sara agrees. That night, during their interview, she shares more of her past. As children, Sara and Jess lived with their grandmother. One night, a drunk driver crashed into their driveway, killing their parents instantly. Jess saw the bodies, but their grandmother stopped Sara from looking. However, flashbacks reveal the truth. Sara's father actually shot her mother, then himself. Jess witnessed everything and was scarred for life. Whether Sara lied to Aiden, didn't trust him, or was simply shielded from the truth, she never knew what really happened. Aiden feels sorry and apologizes, but Sara brushes it off. It was long ago. Next morning, Aiden introduces her to Michi, a park ranger and experienced forest guide. Michi spends his days searching for bodies of those who've taken their own lives. He warns Sara not to go in while she's so emotional, saying the forest feeds on strong feelings. Sara insists, asking what he would do if it were his own child. Moved, Michi agrees to lead them. Before entering, he gives one final warning. If you see anything strange, it's not real. The forest will try to trick their minds. Inside, the forest is eerily silent. Soon, they encounter a man camping alone. Michi explains that people who set up tents here are usually uncertain about taking their lives. They come to the forest to decide. While Michi talks to the man, Aiden quietly asks if Jess ever tried to end her life. Sara admits she did twice. Once, she overdosed on sleeping pills, but Sara somehow sensed something was wrong, called the police, and saved her in time. Deeper in the forest, they find colored tape tied to trees. Michi says people use it to mark paths or lead rangers to bodies. One ribbon looks fresh, so they follow it and discover a man's corpse hanging from a tree. Sara is shaken as Michi marks the location and, with Aiden's help, lowers the body. A while later, Sara feels drawn toward a particular direction. Following her instincts, they come across an abandoned tent. Inside are Jess's belongings. Sarah's heart leaps. Jess was here. She might still be alive. But Michi warns they've strayed too far from the road. Night is approaching, and the cold will set in soon. He insists they leave and return in the morning. Sara refuses, believing Jess will come back to the tent during the night. Michi warns her again that the forest grows dangerous after dark. The Uriai feed on fear. Still, Sara stands firm and tells them to go without her. Aiden decides to stay, while Michi reluctantly agrees to return at dawn. That night, Sara and Aiden sit beside the campfire. She tells him that whenever Jess is in danger, she feels it instantly, something she believes is a special connection between twins. Aiden nods, saying he understands. His younger brother often got into trouble, but Aiden wouldn't always help, thinking it would teach him a lesson. One fight left his brother deaf in one ear, and Aiden has regretted it ever since. Now, he vows never to turn his back on anyone close to him. Later, Sara heads into the tent while Aiden lies by the fire, watching her quietly, creating an uneasy feeling. In the middle of the night, Sara wakes to the sound of movement outside. She calls for Aiden, but there's no response. A shadowed hand presses against the tent wall. When she unzips it, 3 ghostly Uriai in white robes lunge toward her. She screams, then jolts awake. It was just another nightmare. Outside, Aiden sleeps peacefully. Then, Sara hears a faint voice deeper in the forest. Following it, she finds a frightened schoolgirl who calls her by name and says she's Hoziko. Shocked, Sara asks if she's one of Jess's students. The girl nods, saying Jess is looking for her and warns, "Don't trust Aiden." Before Sara can react, Hoziko runs off. Sara chases her but slips and cuts her hand badly. Moments later, Aiden appears. Sara tells him about the girl, but keeps the warning to herself. By sunrise, Aiden insists they return. Her wound needs medical help, and without Michi, they don't know the way out. He suggests reporting the girl to the police. They might also find Jess that way. Reluctantly, Sara agrees. After hours of walking, they reach a river. Sara points out that they never crossed it before, but Aiden says if they follow it downstream, they'll reach civilization. The forest feels strange, disorienting. Aiden reminds her they're still following the river's flow, and she realizes he's right, but something feels wrong. The forest seems to be playing tricks on her mind. As they walk, Aiden's phone accidentally plays part of their recorded interview from last night. Suspicious, Sara asks if he stayed with her only for the story. Aiden admits that was part of it, but says he also cares about her and Jess. Her mistrust deepens. She asks if he even has a brother. He hesitates, then confesses he lied to gain her trust. Furious, Sara demands to know his real motive. Did he already know Jess? Aiden insists he didn't. She orders him to hand over his phone so she can delete everything. Reluctantly, he does. As she scrolls, she finds a photo of Jess. Her anger explodes. She accuses Aiden of lying and knowing her sister all along. Aiden looks confused, claiming he's never seen that picture. When he tries to take the phone back, Sara panics. A struggle breaks out, and she runs into the forest, terrified and alone. Back at the campsite, Michi returns only to find it empty. Concerned, he begins organizing a search party. Meanwhile, Sara runs until she finds a long rope-like cord and uses it to mark her path, hoping it will help her find her way back. Suddenly, she hears ghostly whispers. Shadows of hanging corpses appear, urging her to turn around. Sara yells that they're not real, but one spirit lunges toward her, making her stumble and fall into a deep pit. At the forest's edge, Michi's search party arrives, with Rob, Sara's fiancé, who has just flown in, desperate to find her. Deep underground, Sara wakes up in the pit. Using her flashlight, she follows a faint voice through a dark tunnel until she sees Hoziko again. The girl says she'll take her to Jess. When Sara asks why Jess is down there, Hoziko only smiles eerily and runs ahead. Sara follows and shines her light on the girl's face, only to realize she's not human at all, but a ghost. Terrified, Sara flees back toward the pit, screaming for help. By chance, Aiden hears her and rushes to find a rope. While waiting, Sara reminds herself that everything here is an illusion of the forest. She spots a small toy viewfinder on the ground and looks through it, seeing memories from the night her parents died. Suddenly, her father's corpse appears before her, making her scream and drop the toy. Aiden returns and pulls her out. He tells her he's found an old ranger station nearby that might still have a working radio. Sara doesn't fully trust him but accepts his help. He hands her his knife as a sign of good faith. By nightfall, they reach the ranger station. But Sara can't shake the feeling that Aiden found it too easily. While he tries to fix the radio, she notices chocolate wrappers scattered around, the same kind he had earlier. He's been here before. Aiden asks for the knife to pry open the radio, and though hesitant, Sara gives it to him. As she explores further, she hears a voice from behind a locked door. It's Jess. A piece of paper slides out from underneath. Aiden will kill us both. Find the key. Sara freezes. Jess might be trapped inside. She finds another knife, presses it to Aiden's throat, and demands he let Jess out. Aiden insists Jess has been missing for 5 days and is likely dead. Sara screams for the key. To calm her, he says it's in his boot. As she reaches for it, Aiden lunges to disarm her, knowing the forest is distorting her perception. In the struggle, the knife plunges into his chest. Aiden collapses dead. Suddenly, the locked door swings open. Sara rushes inside, only to be pulled into a vivid flashback of the night her parents died. She sees young Jess and covers her eyes to shield her from the horror. Then, her father's ghostly hand grabs hers. Sara slashes at it repeatedly until it lets go. Back in the real world, Jess, still lost somewhere in the forest, senses something and suddenly bolts upright, running through the woods. Sara bursts out of the ranger station, chased by dark spirits. She spots Jess ahead and calls out to her, but Jess can't hear her. Meanwhile, Mishy and Rob are leading the search when Jess stumbles into their path. Exhausted, she says she's been lost in the forest for 5 days. When she asks about Sara, Rob promises they'll search for her next. Elsewhere, Sara keeps running until she encounters Hoseko again. The ghost girl points to Sara's injured hand, deep gashes cutting across it. Then the truth hits. The father's hand she thought she cut earlier was actually her own. Cut to the ranger station steps, Sara's lifeless body sits there. The Sara wandering the forest was her spirit all along. That's why Jess couldn't hear her calls. Realizing this, Sara panics as the dark spirits of the forest surround her. They drag her soul down into the earth, trapping her forever. Far away, Jess suddenly feels a hollow emptiness in her chest, a silent break in the bond she shared with her twin. The connection is gone. She now understands what it means. Sara is dead. Sara once felt that same pull when Jess was alive, but now the feeling has vanished. Jess is heartbroken. She came to Japan to find her sister, but in trying to save Jess, Sara lost her own life. Later, Jess and Rob prepare to leave. As their car passes the forest entrance, Mishy looks back and freezes. Standing among the trees is Sara's spirit, but she's no longer herself. Her eyes are dark, her expression cold. She has become one of the Uriai, forever bound to the forest. And with that, the story ends. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.